Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Keith Station. I work for Mayor Ewing and am proudly serving as chair of this body and always excited to champion the work of MAPA and particularly Heartland 2050 Regional Planning Advisory Committee. A bud is going on. A bud happening for me, I would have to say is the approaching month 11 of the Ewing administration and just seeing the mayor's priorities and initiatives take shape. I feel really good about the future of the city, looking through the lens of John Ewing. I'm excited about it. Chris.
All right, good morning, everybody. Chris Gibbons, Director of Community Development. A bud for me, I would say, is we're kicking off our comp plans next week, and folks are coming to town. Everything's gonna officially get started, and looking forward to seeing what the future vision of our community is going to be, especially what the downtown master plan will become between now and like 14 months, and then getting that final product to see like what we get to try and grow into it. The challenges ahead and trying to meet those challenges. So looking forward to that.
Mike Elgerson, MAPA. I'm on the agenda to talk about BUD, so I'm gonna pass. I do that, Mike.
Just save a lot of time.
That's right.
Lauren Sensick with Metro. But for me is that on April 19th, we have service increases going in effect for Metro. Really taking shape of implementing our strategic Metro Next plan, and it's about a 4% increase in services starting in 2 weeks from now. So very excited.
Zach Ferguson with Lamper Nearson, Natural Resource Committee Chair. Bud for me is we're wrapping up the Boyd Park improvements. So I'm excited to go see a high school that was not my own, but play on new fields up by Levi Carter.
Greg Paskatch, Front Porch Investments. My bud is I'm 3 weeks into my new role with Front Porch. I was with the city of Omaha in the planning department before, so I'm just excited to be in the spot and hopefully create some new opportunities, especially work with everybody here.
That'd be great.
Hello, my name is Kevin Flager. I'm with the City of Papillion. I'll do a literal bud. I got all my pre-seeds planted and they're all popping up. So it's ready to go plant them outside soon.
Nice.
Christy Evans with City of Omaha Public Works. I'm like close to our bud. Our kitchen renovation is almost complete. We just take the cut. So hopefully no more delays on that.
Nice.
Bruce Fountain, City of La Vista, they're kind of a profession, but and shout out to Kevin through our APA organization. He's developed an outreach to students in grade school through high school that we're starting to implement through our APA chapters. Going out teaching kids about the planning profession and what planning is within cities. We'll be reaching out, trying to get people to volunteer to take everything he's developed out to schools. So if anybody has interest in their communities, let us know. Yes, we should roll.
Thank you. You got some volunteers already, Bruce. Tammy.
Tammy Paul, City of Bellevue Planning Director. One thing that we have coming up that'll be good for our city is the summer we'll be embarking on an active mobility plan. So we've recently done comp plan, we've done affordable housing action plan. So this will be a nice complement to those. It's nice to see things come to fruition. Have a document out there that will help us as we look toward the future.
Chris Meeks, OPPD. I'm with Kevin. I love that my backyard's starting to turn green. The leaves are coming on the trees and there's flowers popping up and things like that. So this is a fun time of year.
Laura Dietrich, Douglas County Planning and Zoning. Super nerdy. I got a chocolate chip cookie recipe and I made chocolate chip cookies and they were the best ones I've ever made in my entire life. I'm gonna make a second batch this weekend.
That's awesome, Lauren. Yet I don't see any here today. That's okay.
They didn't make it past this morning. So maybe next time.
Well, thank you. And nerds are welcome here. You got that top that.
Megan, I don't know if I can.
Yes, you can. You got it.
Megan Ingberg, Planning and Building and Planning Director for the City of Ralston. Our bud is that our 5 Points intersection remodel is heavily underway. Been a lot of construction and everything going on, but it is going to look amazing when it is complete. So we invite you to come out and take a look at it when it's done.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Vicki Quates Ferris. I'm the Vice President of Community Development for the Empowerment Network. And we are gearing up for our Step Up Omaha Youth Employment Program, Summer Employment Program. And we're hoping that we can employ about 1,000 youth over the summer, year round, so ages 14 to 21-year-olds, and so I'm excited about that.
14-21.
14 to 21.
I'm Mark Norman. I have a dual role. I work for the Greater Omaha Chamber, but I'm also the executive director of the Mills County Economic Development Foundation. And my professional bud would be what we're going to talk to you about today with the redevelopment of the Glenwood Resource Center.
You kept me on my toes. I wasn't sure what title to put on the slides versus the, so I was like, we'll just go with it.
It's good either way. Yep.
Awesome.
Doug Bassan, Urban Design Principal with HDR, and I'm gonna keep mine light. We picked up a little puppy on Saturday, and he's currently a Tasmanian devil. He's got blood all over from being bitten. But he's got the bones to be a really good dog, so we're hopeful that he's gonna blossom in a couple of months to be that rose, you know.
What's the name?
Finley,
Finley.
Karen Terrier.
All right.
I'm Laura with MAPA, and Doug was distracting me, so what are we supposed to be talking about?
What is a bug? What is something of promise in your world?
Okay, there's literally lunch. I literally went and bought lilac bushes for my yard the other week, and they're like starting to bud out. I'm very excited about that. So we'll see if Mother Nature can keep them alive, because I take no part in that.
Good luck with that too. We'll stay in the room before we go online, Lindsay.
Lindsay, transportation planner with MAPA. I'm gonna stick on the gardening trend. My home office has like a giant, almost floor to ceiling window to a redbud tree. So this is like my favorite time of year to work from home. So Mike, Carlos, if I'm not around, that's partially why. So yeah, just looking forward to everything popping up.
Outstanding.
I'm Audia West, a transportation planner with MAPA, and this is my first week on the job, so that's my bud.
Well, correct.
My name's Matt Bolander, transportation planner with MAPA, and I'm also on my first week in the job. So also my bad.
Elisa Manuel, grants and agreement specialist with MAPA. I will also be super nerdy. I finished my second of 4 contracting courses, so I'm gonna get my certificate in federal contracting at the end of it. I really enjoyed it.
Well, you're on the team, Lisa. Keep going, keep going.
Well, to add to that nerdiness, I'm Sue Cusforth with MAPA, and I am almost finished earning my accreditation in my field, so I'm looking forward to getting that done.
Grant Anderson, Community Development Manager at MAPA. I just forgot but okay, here's what I'll share. We're in discussions with UNO to create something of a pipeline of interested student interns to do work in communities that might have projects that could take the course of a semester. So, it's gonna kind of depend on what communities need and the skills and abilities of the students, but we're just working to inspire the minds and community development. I think I'm supposed to provide a thorn too.
Just a bud.
Oh.
That's great, Grant. That's great.
I can give thorns.
The other foot is. Carlos Morales, Transportation Data Manager, Director of Staff Morale. Our bud is our new staff, lots of opportunities for growth and all the new projects that we're starting on our team, from the freight plan, the trips, which you'll hear tons of in the next couple of years. Super excited about these long-term visionary projects that we're working on.
Okay, thanks.
Saul Lopez with MAPA and Communications Project Coordinator as well. I'm excited about the fact that everything is turning green now, and I'm gonna have more time to go into my garden and do a little bit more gardening.
Yes, sir.
Jeff Fireman, City Blair Community Development. Got a plant full of work buds, 300 apartments coming online this summer, this fall. Another 100 apartments planned for a new subdivision, and a new subdivision with 137 houses. and a new water tower. So
Excellent. Let's go online, and I see so Doug, that's you, but that's, okay, all right. Lindsay.
Good morning, I'm Lindsay Hughes. I'm the director at Douglas County Health Department. And I have a lot of things that I'm excited about right now, but I'm gonna go with the personal one because I'm not allowed to put it on Facebook and I need to brag somewhere, so you guys are it. My daughter over the past year has been dancing professionally as a trainee at American Midwest Ballet. And yesterday was notified that she's being promoted to apprentice.
Wow.
And so watching my baby girl succeed in her passion and her dream is just pretty an awesome and incredible thing. So that's my good thing.
That's all. Well, thank you, Dr. Hughes. That makes all this other stuff, pale in comparison. Thank you for sharing that. Let's go, Terry.
I'm Terry Hawk, Executive Director of MOAC, organizational bud, a lot of initiatives in literacy, student attendance, and dual enrollment are taking fruition and growing in all of those areas.
Great. Hey, Ashley.
Hi everyone, Ashley Ray Turner. I am a comms and outreach consultant, a chair of the engagement committee, and also, as you can see, I am in a bar right now. I also head the bar program at a new live music venue lounge in North Omaha called Dreamland. So my buds for this month is the lounge got through our first month. I'm excited to work on a new contract with Ivy Black Girl with their maternal health initiatives. And I'm at the bar because we have a health inspection today. So I might have to hop off the call a little early, but nice to see everyone.
Thanks, Ashley. Let's have the meeting in month after next there.
Yeah, we have room for everyone.
Okay. Check out the AV. Thank you. Ernie.
Hello, I'm Ernie Bless with Metropolitan Utilities District, MUD. I'm the utilization engineer in business development. All this garden talk has me a little embarrassed that my salsa garden is not fully put together yet. So that's one of the things I'm working on.
Ernie, you got till like May, you're good.
Well, if you start now, then you have more than you can use.
That's true.
And then we can bring some in, Keith can have some, and we'll be good.
See, you are ahead of me. Thank you, sir. Okay, and Lindsay, the third Lindsay.
Good morning. Lindsay Neiman with University of Nebraska Medical Center. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, so sorry for not being there in person. I'm looking forward to getting healthy, and I'm hoping to list my house and move this spring. So doing a lot of work over all of the weekends, including this weekend, to get ready for that, and that'll be exciting kind of new start.
That is exciting. Thank you, Lindsay. I think we got everyone. And we'll come to Gary, you and the team, y'all can play too. You were coming up on the agenda, but give me a bud, Gary, and make it good, because I know you got good buds.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Gary Clark, Executive Director of the Omaha Inland Port Authority. And I guess my bud would be my junior in high school daughter, Aslan, decided to run track and field for the first time ever. And she placed first in the 4x8 and 4x4 in Seward in her first ever track meet. So that was fun to see her do that. So that's my bud.
That's awesome.
Hi, I'm Myla Nguyen. I am the Chief of Staff for Omaha Inland Port Authority, and my bud is I am prepping for a toddler Easter egg hunt this weekend. It'll be the first time my daughter can actually successfully Easter egg hunt, and we have a bunch of her little friends coming over, and it will be chaos and a lot of fun.
That should be awesome. You probably need to leave early. Gary, make that happen, man. Well, thank you, everyone. Y'all are probably like, why don't we spend 19 minutes on introductions? Well, it's because look at who's in the room, and look at what's happening. Please take what you heard and figure out how you can help someone achieve their goals professionally and personally, if you like. We went from intersections to nature to nerds. It's all in here. And that's what this group is about. Okay, that's our new mission statement. So as we commence into business, the first thing to do is the approval of past minutes. Now, we did not have quorum last time, and so we will need to approve the minutes from February, right?
And December, yeah.
Okay, February and December. So we'll do those independently. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the December 5th, 2025 meeting. Motion, is there a second?
Second.
That motion's been made and appropriately seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none. Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve the February minutes? Motion approved. Motion second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, motion carries. Thank you for doing that, y'all, and please take a look at those minutes. We kicked those out pretty quick. You might even have the minutes from the April meeting in your inbox today. No pressure, though. It's happening. So please, that is a great chronicling of the events that are happening among this group and what's to come. So thank you for doing that. Thank y'all for paying attention to those. And so then first up, then we're ready for Gary and the team to give us an update on the Omaha Inland Port Authority. So Gary, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, man, on the track piece, right?
Yeah, it seems to be. And I asked her, my daughter yesterday, I said, what are you excited to run for coming up? She said nothing. So not quite there yet, but she's getting there. I'm going to share screen if I can. See if I can make this happen. Let me know if I'm succeeding.
Looks good.
All right. Well, first and foremost, Keith and others, I'd like to thank you all for giving us an opportunity to share a brief update. We also want to make acknowledgement that we do have one of our amazing brain trust commissioners as a part of your group there. Mr. Helgerson, thank you again for your leadership on our board. But anything on this presentation is not indicative of anything that Mr. Helgerson has approved or denied. Just to make that note. First and foremost, I like to talk a little bit about history, and I'm always interested in the connection between planning and history, right? And so before I dive into this, I wanted to highlight North Omaha's history goes way back, right? We can take it back as far as the War of 1812. We can take it back as far as Manuel Lisa's Fort Lisa in North Omaha. And if you all remember that time, how many of you remember that time? I'm just gonna see by show of hands on the screen. 1812, no one was here. Okay. At that time, we know that there was a war that decided the ownership over the Louisiana Purchase process, right? And that purchase process was $15 million for just over 800 square miles of land. And in that space, Omaha and Nebraska was a part of that process. And if you all remember that war, it was largely due to the fact that France needed funding. They had lost money. Next thing you know, you have fur traders taking over in the Omaha territory and impacting the indigenous folks who had been here for many, many years. And then after that, going down this road of a history lesson, you also had this group that was somewhat of a committee that tried to keep people from owning and acquiring property in Omaha. And that committee was some of the founding fathers who did some really unkind things to folks who were new Americans as they attempted to acquire property in Omaha. And so I bring that message to you all because we talk a little bit about North Omaha's history when it comes to lack of investment, but that history goes far back beyond that time. And so I would just implore everyone as a homework assignment going into the weekend, Keith, that everyone just do a little research on the origin story of planning of land acquisition in Omaha, in North Omaha specifically. Okay, so that was fun, a fun little moment down history road, so to speak. We have our Board of Commissioners. I want to quickly highlight who they are and make sure that you all know that we are led by Senator Terrell McKinney, and our Vice President is currently Davio Phillips, and our Secretary and Treasurer is Carmen Tapia. Beyond that, we have developed some staffing, as you'll see. Our most recent acquisition actually was Manny Cook, who is going to start on April 13th as our Director of Planning and Innovation. We're really excited about that. Manny is actually a North Omaha grad and has been deep in the weeds on our innovation efforts and beyond, even in his previous role. You can see we have James Caraway and Jen McCune, and Maya has already introduced herself. Now, I wanted to highlight some of the things that we have going on, which was the request when asked to speak. We are focused on a master plan that was just approved by the board yesterday at our board meeting. HRNA is the entity that will take on our master plan effort. It will be a 6-month master plan effort and timeline, and the goal is to have a short stint of 5 years as opposed to a 20-year or 30-year master plan. As we've explored other partners across the country, we see that those numbers have shrunk down as things are always nimble and moving. And so love to hear some more conversation on that in the future. Impact Fund, we are rolling out a $300,000 small business grant, and then coupling that down the line with a $1.5 million revolving loan fund for those businesses. Innovation District, we recently confirmed what that boundary is and will be, and what our primary focus is on our website, which is omahaipa.com. You all will also see that we're moving towards a dashboarding piece, and there is a current dashboard that highlights our funding right now. Beyond that, we have a housing RFP coming out, which we will probably post today or early Monday, looking for housing partners who can help to administer the overall effort to build 20 single-family units, and then also merging with our goal with 150 multifamily units. We are also rolling out an RFP for our local iHubs that we get to oversee. The goal is to see what they might be able to support in our innovative space. And then last but not least, we are also collaborating with the OEDC effort for the Airport Business Park. Now, this is not the enterprise park space. This is just a simple visual that was originally provided by that group. The enterprise park was acquired by the Omaha Economic Development Corporation and Airport Business Park due to those funds that we had procured from DED. They used those funds to acquire this parcel just a month ago and closed on it. It is 67 plus acres. It will be truncated down to about 41 developable acres once the city truck route is added to the mix. Just wanted to give you a visual that was artful there. In addition to that, they also acquired what you'll see here, which is 150,000 square foot space off of 5906 Abbott Drive. This space was built by the Krejci family, and there is a potential tenant that may be going into the space, but there may be additional space available still. We think there might be close to 100,000 square feet that might be utilized initially, and there will still be an additional 50 that might be available for leasing. This space and the other space, I just want to highlight that there is a community benefits agreement goal. So these dollars need to turn back into development projects within the OIPA boundary and Airport Business Park. It also should support job creation for the community. Now, shifting gears really quickly, we highlighted this a few months ago through the HRNA proposal that took 6 months to develop a proposal on the Innovation District. From that, the board confirmed that we wanted to focus on the Ames area corridor that you'll see here. And people are calling this the elbow. And so I'll go with that. That is going to be our first phase and focus. So I thought I'd hone in on this for you all a little bit. So you can see this is the Ames Avenue space at the very top. Hopefully you can see that. This is the current Casey's property that OIPA has gone under contract to acquire. And in addition, we've also acquired the church property, which used to be a medical center at some point here off of North 28th Avenue. We also have under contract the former silo space, and there is a current tire company that is officing and working out of this space. We have control of that site as well. And we are under conversations and negotiations already with OPS about the acquisition of this US Mill space. And so we're excited about this for the community. We welcome any added conversation or input, but we wanted to let you know that we're deep underway in property acquisition, master planning. We will be reaching out to potential investors as a partnership. Remember, this is an original $30 million fund to build an innovation district. That will not get us to the goal of completing that project. There are some considerations for multifamily, considerations for the 100,000 square foot innovation building that the community asked for, and then also consideration for what I'll mention to you all, which is the creative housing campus. We will do a formal announcement on this property in late May, early June. Okay, I talked about property acquisition. Our goal is to build per statute 150 multifamily homes and also 20 single family. The staff has honed in on city and land bank property off of 16th Street. The goal is to have emerging developers and other partners RFP to submit their potential proposals for these properties and parcels. Bear in mind, there is a process to get those under control, and so staff is working on that now. Really quickly, we want to make sure that any of you in the room that are partners consider our partnership interest form. We will take any partnership that might be possible to bring things to fruition for the North Omaha area and our boundary, but also we have an MOU option here as well. I just wanted to highlight that for those who are considering collaboration. Really quickly, I mentioned the creative housing campus, so I wanted to give you all a visual of what might potentially be developed. Mike has actually been helpful in joining our most recent meeting with some of these potential partners. Our goal would be to develop this space, looking for other funding mechanisms to do that, but it looks like it would be ideal for our innovation campus area. So this is just some conceptual pieces. Clearly the acreage has shifted a little bit, but the goal I would focus on is the FTE space, also the potential for development as far as the square footage that's needed there. Now, for your listening pleasure, a little visual from AI. So consider the Innovation District on 30th and Ames and some component that looks a little bit like this. Now, we are not Picasso, but we pretend to be one when we use AI. So that is what you have there for a visual. Quickly, I just wanted to highlight that we are willing to speak and attend and collaborate with anyone who would like to hear about our efforts. We also have the Community Advisory Committee. As you can see here, this is our humble abode for the next month or so. And the Community Advisory Committee is made up of community stakeholders to share and spread the word, but also educate and inform the public on what we're working on. Really quickly, we did submit our annual report to the state recently. That highlights our efforts in the last year. We'll do this annually. And then we actually found out that we had over 190 plus responses to our survey that was developed by the University of Nebraska at Omaha Center for Public Affairs Research. We feel like there's an opportunity to eclipse that goal in the next year. So the CAC has an RFP out to the public today for any potential candidates to do that work for us. On the unicameral side, we've talked about the inland port expansion. I did talk to Senator McKinney this morning, and our conduit bonding goal, which is our focus for this session, it was not added yet to the port expansion bill. However, next Monday, they will have time to review it, and hopefully that'll be a positive slant. If the conduit bonding piece moves forward, folks, this is a huge opportunity for the Port Authority and developers to have access to capital to develop tons of projects within the boundary and collaborating with the Port Authority. This is an example that's being done in Kansas City and hundreds of other places. Okay, really quickly, in and around the town, like I said, we are making our rounds, and hopefully if you all are interested, I do want to spotlight, Keith, for you and Mike. This is some nostalgic history here, being invited to the first Sky Omaha presentation. So if you all have a chance to do that, I would implore you to do that. Mike, I think you should be next on their list for the podcast.
Just so long as I get that image on a t-shirt, Garrett. That's all.
Perfect. Last but not least, we recently attended a trip to Port San Antonio. We were invited by none other than the former NYFA executive, Tim Kinney. And Tim is a native of San Antonio. We did some tours at the Brooks, which used to be Kelly Air Force Base. We also toured the Boeing facility in San Antonio at their Port Authority. And we took some examples of some of their shift to innovation. We also saw some spaces where they have some multifamily development and also their mainstay grocery store. And Keith, I know we've talked a lot about North Omaha Grocery, and so we thought we'd take a stop to their mainstay there. That is all I have for this presentation. I want to reiterate where we are in our boundary here. As north as the Missouri, scaling down Florence. The western portion is North 31st Avenue. Southern portion is Willis Avenue, but also Freedom Park. All right.
That's great. Thank you, Gary. And as we prepare any questions that anyone has, I'll say that a lot of this information is in your website, and the website for the Port Authority is pretty robust, so and kept up to date really well. No pressure, Maya, but thank you for providing the latest and the greatest. What questions do you have about the Port Authority?
Keith, before there's a question, I failed to mention that the mayor's office and staff have been instrumental in helping us to acquire parcels, most specifically the Casey's parcel. I just want to highlight to you all, if you've done the development and real estate space, that it can be a fevered pitch. And I think it was up to the last minute, and we requested a letter of support from the mayor. He provided that in short notice with no concerns or questions, and that helped us to initiate that first landed piece of land on 30th and Ames. So I just wanted to highlight that to everyone. So
awesome. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Laura, get that in the minutes, please. Thank you.
T-shirt, okay.
Questions? I know that this is this is tricky work, especially in these times where there's so much political pressure to be swift with the funds. Our unicameral is very interesting, but important partners in this work, and y'all are doing it. And that's awesome. Questions?
I have one.
Chris.
Hey Gary, how are you doing this morning? Question for you. Right now, the city of Omaha is going through their comprehensive planning process, and you're kind of doing your own side master plan for your innovation campus. At the end of your process, I mean, are you going to go back to Omaha to see if they could adopt that as part of their comprehensive plan as like a sub area? I mean, like, what's the coordination between you and Omaha on that? Because I mean, that's a long-term initiative that you're taking on. I could see that being part of their comprehensive plan as well.
Great question, and I think you hit the nail right on the head. We hope that this is happening in real time, and we've had continuous conversations with the city of Omaha and their planning department. Our goal is to make sure that as we're developing this master plan, that we're in lock and step with the city on that process. And so we've already engaged them. Our HR&A consultants are more than willing to make sure that we're sharing information and taking best practice information. There's a lot of previous plan and results that have already been taken in this space. And so our goal really is not to reinvent the wheel as much as make sure it's a collaborative effort. So you're right. This won't work unless we are collaborating and that comprehensive plan update matches what we're trying to do in our total boundary, which I failed to mention is the 3,000 acre boundary, not just the innovation district space.
Thank you.
That's great. Well, you've got a strong team and an awesome board. Thank you for plugging in here with MAPA and with this committee. Please stay and hang out if you like. This is where the action is. So if y'all don't have to cut out, hang out and listen for as long as you can. If there are no other questions, we will proceed. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, Keith. We're going to jump off for another meeting, but I appreciate it.
All right. See you next time. Thanks. Okay, Mark and Doug, the floor is yours. So Doug, you deferred on your bud, and so we're getting ready to hear a good one here.
So, yeah, Gary and his team are doing a fantastic job of revitalization up there in the airport, in Inland Port Authority area. And I also want to compliment the board that Mike is on with that. It's been a very tough job. I don't think they realized how much work it was going to be for them to get this up and running. But it's exciting to see what's happening there, and it's great. So kind of transitioning from, revitalization of an urbanized area to revitalization of a rural area. So for those of you that maybe are not as familiar with Mills County, we are a very rural area. It's a population of the county of about 17,000. Glenwood itself, the county seat, is just a little bit over 5,000. So we really are a bedroom community for the metropolitan area. But you can be in Glenwood and get to downtown Omaha in 22 minutes. So it is great access.
With no stoplights.
With no stoplights, 4-lane all the way, 4-lane all the way. So, so the Glenwood Resource Center it was a state-run facility located up on the hill on the east side of the city of Glenwood. Started back in like 1865, 66, somewhere in that area, kind of as a home for orphans and such from the Civil War. Went through various transitions of what it was. Ended up being a home for disabled individuals for the state of Iowa. At one point in time, there was 3,000 people that worked on the campus there, which by and large made it the largest employer for Mills County. It started to kind of fade out kind of in the early 2020s. The state kind of indicated that, yeah, we're going to be closing this. This is not how, the modern treatment for these individuals needs to happen. And so it slowly started to, phase out, moving the residents out, and finally closed in July, I think, of 24 was the official. So it was a huge blow to Glenwood and Mills County to have that close. The state came to both the city and the county at that, in that time frame and said, would you like the campus? We'll just give it to you. The city and the county said, we can't take it. That's a huge liability. What are we going to do with it? There's nothing that we can do with it, right? The state goes like, okay, well, what we'll do is we'll knock everything down. We'll flatten it. And then we'll just sell it as land. A couple folks within the community said, that's probably not the best thing for the community to have that just flatten and turn back to farm ground or whatever it may be. And so they formed a nonprofit 501c3 and said, all right, we will take it if you help us out. And so that's where we are right now. The state said, yeah, but we need a plan. And so the state engaged HDR to look at a master plan and say, what is the best reuse of this particular piece of property? And so that was developed, brought us to where we are now. I'm going to turn it over to Doug, and he's going to kind of go and explain how we've gotten to where we're at.
All right, thanks, Mark.
Yep. Go ahead, Mike.
All right, so a little bit of this reiterates what Mark said, but state of Iowa as the client initially, Department of Administrative Services and IDEDA. You see consulting team, we led that. SB Freeman Development Advisors did the market study. We think we can be as creative as we can be, but if it's not based on market realities, it's not worth the paper that it's written on. And then we also brought in strategic advisors, New Style Development and Arch Icon. We really wanted their sense, they're prolific in Western Iowa, Eastern Nebraska, and they were a huge value add to this process. As Mark said, the state made the decision to close the school, huge job loss. And I think in the state's mind, this site would then transfer back into an industrial site, a job creation site. And we had to tap the brakes a little bit on that, and you'll see why here in a few moments. But the goal was transfer it to, as Mark said, GRC, and then ultimately a master developer, and create a transformative redevelopment plan. The goal is not piecemeal it out, but something where the sum is greater than its individual pieces. It really needed to aspire to greatness. And then it was led by the Glenwood Resource Committee, the market analysis, and then tons and tons of programmatic realities. And kind of in a nutshell, the key findings, the site had significant complexities, and we'll walk through some of those. And from the market side, it's not the first site that a developer would look at. It would be very low on that list because a lot of things had to happen. It's not a job site due to those complexities. And then it needs to be looked at in conjunction with the adjacent mega site, and to ultimately really work together. So with that, you can see the site. This is maybe the flattest area of the site, and then it really drops off precipitously either side of that. Lots and lots of old buildings. Going back to what Mark said, the city and the county, we just can't take it. I mean, what do we do with all those buildings? Those become huge liabilities really quickly. So the first order of business was to do a site analysis and really begin to figure out what we're dealing with. So here's an aerial of the site. You can see Highway 34 to the south, City of Glenwood to the northwest, and then the campus in the center. You'll notice no direct access to the highway. You have an old county road that went under that provided access to the lake here. And this road that would be generous, it's more of a path, was closed off, vacated. So really no direct access, just emergency access to Highway 34. So as we began the process, here's the site. Campus boundary, 340 acres. Okay, we can do some damage with 340 acres. There's a lot of space there to begin to do some things. So then we began layering other information that we found, and something no one really knew about and talked about in this green line. This is a state preserve, both archaeological and natural, and you cannot touch that. So immediately we went from that 340 acres down to 220 acres. And it's like, oh, wait, if we were looking at industrial, how do we get through there? You know, you would want a little closer to the highway itself. So that was one of those aha moments. Then you began layering in some other items, topography. These orange are 10 to 15% slopes, and then the red are 15 and above. So you begin to winnow out a lot of the site because it's just not conducive to development. Ultimately, what you get is the development, potential developable area in the black. So again, went from something that everyone thought was really big and really quickly shrank down. But then you throw in actually, water bodies, wetlands, floodplain. You throw in the recognized earth lodge sites. So there's a, it was mentioned earlier, there's a lot of history in this area. These are all kind of earthen lodge sites that are known. So having to work in and around those. In addition to that, there's a cemetery on the site. So that takes out whatever, that's kind of a fairly flat site. Well, no, you can't do anything on that site. And then there was,
though.
What's that?
Usually quiet.
Very quiet. Yeah. Great place to overlook if you live there. Then there was a long-term lease that was granted to Glenhaven Homes. So all of a sudden it's like, again, one of the flatter areas, we really can't do anything on that site for multiple years. And then we had been discussions with Glenwood Community School District, and they had their eyes on one of these two buildings. They were initially thinking elementary school. Some initial studies happened, came back just cost prohibitive. Ultimately, they chose this building 103 to do their administrative offices. But again, having to work with their program from the get-go. And then, let's see. So suitable for residential rehab. So New Style and Archicon came in and said, all right, but to get a handle on these, we have several buildings that are positives. These are easily convertible into residential, historic tax credits, etc. So that was a big plus. But then back to the negative side, again, the access. How do you get here? No direct access up a Highway 34. If any of you have been out there, you know about it. If you haven't been out there, drive through. But basically 3 tunnels into the site. And they are, we just heard this week that some of the demolition crews trying to get out there. It took an hour to get a truck through there. So, from a life safety perspective, how do you get fire trucks and access? So lots of challenges with those. And then potential entrances beginning to say, okay, could we snake through a street or two from the highway? So that was always in the back of our mind. Mark, can you?
It's switched on here, just didn't switch up there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, back to the market rally. So SP Freeman did the market assessment, and I show this image because this is really indicative of what the site looks like. There's, a negative if you want to develop it, but it's also a positive because there's this open space network, and starting to look through that and say, okay, what other area within the metro has this as an opportunity? So SP Freeman looked at the market, and really quickly and early, they said that, unique residential, something unlike anywhere else in the marketplace was an opportunity. So that became a high order of business. And then if we could create enough rooftops, some neighborhood retail services would be an opportunity. We might get a small amount of professional office, but it would never be a big office, corporate office location, and definitely not an industrial location. And so really kind of fine tuning it, how do we create a residential neighborhood that's unique enough to draw from the metro area? And, as Mark said, it's a 22-minute drive. SP Freeman, they went out to 240th, 204th, and drove into downtown Omaha, and it was 40 minutes, stop and go, traffic signals. And then they drove in from Glenwood, and it was a really quick, it's stress-free. You're on the interstate the whole way. Your first light is when you get off the interstate. So looking at it, it's maybe kind of a bedroom community type environment. But ultimately what it came down to is there needs to be a lot of things done to make it shovel ready before you could get any kind of development on the site. And then this is the relationship with the Mills Crossing mega site. So GRC sits here, Mills Crossing sits here, and everyone liked the synergy between the two. It's going to be tough to attract a major employer to the mega site if you don't have residential opportunities, and vice versa. You know, we need jobs to help fill up that neighborhood. So it was really kind of a synergistic opportunity with the two that are relatively next door neighbors to each other. So what was the design program? The design program was a combination of creating a walkable urban neighborhood and an open space neighborhood. So think new urbanism and think preservation of open space. So kind of the ground rules, you know, make sure your buildings address the street and sidewalk, activate the building front where you can, you know, no garages fronting onto it, no blank walls, prohibit parking lots in the front of buildings, and create a mobility network to ensure that the residents have multiple ways of moving through it. A lot of this stuff is second nature to everyone, but the rules that the single family would have, you know, garages should be off of alleys. If not, the garage should be set back behind the main facade line of the house. So we wanted to ensure that there'd be a lot of different residential typologies so that you could get all sorts of demographics and income levels living. At the upper level, were estate lots. That's transitioned a little bit now. We've added a couple acreage lots as well to the mix. But this is, I think, represents kind of the thought process. Then the next step down is village lots. These are your typical residential lots. In this case, these are rear loaded. So these would be all alley access. And again, the thing we don't want to create are snap houses and homes that are kind of just all garage in the front. But there are some scenarios where you do have to have the garage in the front. And in those cases, these are front loaded, but you'll notice that the garage is pushed back. So it's not the dominant feature that you would see of the house itself. Then the next step down would be cottage lots. So these are a little bit smaller, you know, perhaps young professionals, empty nesters. And then we have a couple areas where the cottage lots all front onto neighborhood green. So creating pocket neighborhood type opportunities. And then in our update that I'm just going to briefly talk about at the end, we've also added a small area of micro homes. So again, there's this really broad cross section of kind of single family detached. But then we also get into townhomes, again, making sure that townhomes, the front door fronts on the street. I see it all the time in West Omaha. You know, you have a townhome that the front is a garage, and it's like, no, don't do it that way. Kind of do it the old fashioned way. And then, you know, you have the alley access to the rear. Some examples of what those could look like. Again, a lot of different architectural styles. We're going to start honing in on that. Missing middle, tour Jerry Reimer's neighborhood, and great opportunity. So we have a pocket of missing middle housing on the western edge of the neighborhood. And then going up to multifamily, again, following those rules, have a door that fronts on the street, but also have functional access from your parking to the rear. Examples, and again, we're looking at, you know, what's the right density, how does it tie in and match with the existing structures that are on the site. We think there's a small opportunity for neighborhood retail, parking either on street or to the rear or to the side of the building, but not in front. And just some examples of what that, we have a little town center, so we think that will be the heart and soul, but we're trying to be smart about it. That's not going to occur up front. That will take time to make sure that we get the rooftops happening around it. And if you tie it all, put it all together, you create a nice walkable urban neighborhood. So these are kind of the walkable urbanism rules. And then the open space neighborhood, here's some examples of that. So, you know, what is an open space neighborhood? The inspiration is a golf course community, but instead of your golf holes and fairways, that's preserved open space. So once again, working with what the land gave us and the, you know, the always preserved that's to the south of us, how do you tie into that and create a framework of that open space that makes it unique within the marketplace? So instead of the golf holes, you know, you have naturalized landscape corridors. Think of the prairie. There's great views when you get up on some of those ridge lines that are really long views. And then you have an interconnected trail network. So we think it's an opportunity that doesn't exist within the marketplace. You either have urban neighborhoods or suburban neighborhoods. This kind of brings together the two features of both in a unique way. And the prototype for this was Prairie Crossing in Grays Lake, Illinois, northern suburbs. This was one of the first, and they clustered the homes and then have open space, prairie and wetlands interspersed throughout that. The committee really liked this. Here's some photos of Prairie Crossing, so you can begin to get a sense of the vibe that we're having. Very walkable, but also very oriented towards nature. Another example, the old Stapleton, now called Central Park in Denver. For those of you that have been there, great swaths of open space that cut through it. So, you know, you can walk to a little neighborhood center, but you can also walk to nature. I think these pictures really show what that can begin to be like. You know, you're in the middle of Denver, but it feels like, you know, you're out on the High Plains Prairie. And then finally, Daybreak in South Jordan, once again, you have your walkable urbanism, but you're never too far from big swaths of open space. So we had a design workshop, multiple day. Day one, designers came up with 4 concepts, presented that to the community at evening pinup sessions. Based on the input and feedback, we were able then to refine it down to 2 concepts on the second day. These are the 2 concepts. Rinse, wash, repeat. Had a pinup session on day 2. Got fabulous feedback and input. And then on day 3, we began to narrow it down to a preferred concept. And then we had the pinup, and then made final tweaks on the 4th day. Took it back to the office and refined it. So once again, you see this is the preserve, and then utilizing those flatter areas, town center in the middle. This was really deliberate. We thought the town center makes sense here. We were hopeful that we could get 2 new roads in off of Highway 30, and everything meets at the town center. So if you come in off the main entrance, it takes you to the north side of the town center. You come off the secondary entrance, it takes you to the town center. You come in off underneath one of the tunnels, it reaches here, and then the second tunnel. So we know that to have retail viability, you have to have easy access. So very strategic with that, but then it also worked with the existing buildings. So it's a little tough to see in the brown. Those are all the existing buildings that we thought could be preserved as multifamily units. And then we had some larger apartments. This is the missing middle neighborhood, and then your different single family typologies extending out from there. And also didn't want to ignore the preserve. And again, this is the value of it. And it's tough to see, but we have this extensive trail network then that can extend through. So picture you live at a town center, you can go there for coffee, grab your coffee, and you can go on. We have created several different loops. I mean, there's quarter-mile loop, a mile loop, a 2-mile loop, and a 3-mile loop. So really providing a lot of opportunity for the residents, but also anyone who wants to drive, and kind of we have some trailheads that were included in this as well. You can see the different land uses. So once again, trying to provide for a lot of different residential opportunities. And then this shows the pedestrian network, and very rigorous. And one thing that we have is a mobility spine. So we have a park on the west. We have this grand promenade that goes up this hill, a shared space street, and then a wide pedestrian promenade that then would touch down and go all the way to the south side. And then everything feeds into it. So we're thinking, obviously, pedestrians, scooters, bikes, and any other form of mobility that you want to provide that access down to the pond on the south side. Some imagery just showing what this is. Again, if you haven't seen the tunnels, they're disgusting. I mean, no one wants to drive through them. You know, can we freshen them up a little bit? Create a little entrance into the site. Here's looking from southwest to northeast. Here's the same tunnel here. We've got a little stormwater park here, preserving one of the water tanks. This is the missing middle neighborhood. Here's the little neighborhood center. Some of the existing buildings in white that we want to keep. And then you have neighborhoods, smaller scale neighborhoods taking advantage of those developable areas. This is the stormwater park. So again, this is the tank, turn that into a kind of focal point piece of art. This is the main entrance of a Highway 34. We're cutting through the preserve, keeping stands of native grasses and trees. Some of this land is still being farmed, so we're working with the folks that are doing that farming. Can we peel back and kind of create a swath of prairie that you drive through and ultimately hopefully winnow down the amount of farming and create more and more of the naturalized prairie environment. This is looking southeast to northwest, back towards Nebraska would be back here. Here's the town center. So again, existing buildings, trying to keep as many in the white and then filling in around them. And this is the heart and soul of the neighborhood.
I think it's just our internet's a little slow.
Here's a close up. At this point, there's a great barn on the site. We'd like to save that and preserve that, and that would be a barn plaza, and you would have all sorts of uses fronting onto it. Could that be a small event center? There's some questions on this right now. The main level of it is the second level, so there might not be viability for that, but we're taking a look at the numbers to see if that could indeed be preserved or not. And then we have parks interspersed. A lot of grades, so we have some hillsides. We're making up the elevation changes and then kind of using that for the park space where that flattens out. And then the last couple images will show, showing the value of the preserve and the access to it and what you buy into if you live in this neighborhood and the direct access to all these potential walking trails. And then next slide is kind of what it looks like. So looking over the site, and then this last one is looking kind of more southeast to northwest, downtown Omaha skyline in the background here, but you see it on the hilltops. So now implementation, the key thing, the Glenwood Redevelopment Committee transitions, Mark said, to the Redevelopment Corporation. State of Iowa gave us funding to help make it shovel ready. Iowa DOT, absolutely amazing, got in and developed concept and the plans for those two entrances. I mean, it might be world record times. They're under construction right now. I think that started about a year and a half ago. The goal with the funding is to do demolition of as many buildings, streets, parking areas as we can, and then hopefully extend a utility spine into the site that we can tap into. So here's the location of the two entrances that Iowa DOT designed and is constructing. We think those are absolutely critical to provide that direct access off the main highway. Other things going on, development team selection, Arch Icon was selected as the master developer. So they are fully engaged at this point in time. As they came on board, a lot of discovery. And just like there were some curveballs when we first got the site, some additional curveballs presented themselves. And we'll talk briefly about those because we have to address those in the master plan update. So as we mentioned, the original pared down site was 220 acres. Based on all the information that the state provided, we went out and did a survey, and lo and behold, the survey didn't match up. So again, don't take things at face value, dig into it. It actually grew. So we went from 220 to about 240, but that property line is adjusted. So it's like, okay, now we got to go into a redesign to accommodate for that. Same thing. Lots of right-of-way issues. So we were working with the county. We just are having this one get signed off on. Right-of-way vacation and easement adjustment. So that will be cleaned up. And then on the northwest side, same thing with the city. There was old right-of-way that no one really knew about. So we're getting that cleaned up. And then kind of a big one that we're trying to work through right now is Iowa Avenue was actually built on Burlington Northern right-of-way. So it's always fun dealing with the railroads on those.
Oh, Godspeed.
Yeah, right.
We'll have that sorted out in 20 years.
Yeah, hey, hopefully, knock on wood, right? I don't know. What do you think, Mark?
You know what? We asked the governor to get involved and we got some response. So it's moving.
That's what it
forward.
takes.
Yeah.
Might have to go to the president next.
Yeah, right. And then this was kind of a, oh shit kind of moment. Big diesel bloom on the site. On the most easily developable parcel, the flattest area on the site. So, yeah. So
What is that? What's a diesel?
they had storage tanks.
Okay.
As Mark said, they've been in business since the 1850s. So that was, kind of a little surprise to everyone. So it's like, okay, what are the impacts on our development deal? Then that's where the apartments were, and we were really gonna push, rooftops there. So now we had to readjust.
Was it a Brownsfield?
Not, well, the state knew about it, and they put some institutional controls on there, so we are limited in some of that area that we can develop, and that's part of the adjustment process is, okay, what we were hoping to do there, how do we modify that to, you know, avoid disturbing, because too expensive and too long to try to.
Yeah. But we think we have some good solutions to address that area. And then we did some historic resources surveys, both architectural and archaeological. And the SHPO came back and gave us some ground rules for how do we treat those sites. So we think we have a path forward on those that makes sense for all the various parties. And then kind of lastly, building disposition, a lot of discussion about, okay, what buildings stay, what buildings go. The purple, those will likely all be taken down. The ones in red, those will be converted to residential. The green that you see, those will be the Glen Haven. Those are existing, the homes in that long-term lease. We have some yellow that will become commercial. So that's all very important as we get to this next slide, which is, you know, looking at updating the master plan and what's going to happen. That's ongoing. You guys are getting a sneak peek of it right now. This is as it currently stands. It still has a lot of tweaking to do, but kind of the bigger things, I'm doing some more acreage lots here, again, following design guidelines. But, you know, the market is really telling us this could be something that could be done early on. These are different size estate homes. We get down to village homes and then cottage homes. You know, we've tweaked, the center has shrunk a little bit, the green space, but we have some more retail buildings in the middle. And then we have a lot of parking that's over that diesel. There's no residential there, but we can do some other things, which one of the ideas would be a market. This is an existing building, use it as a market building. We're gonna need parking that can be converted to plaza space there. Here's the micro homes off on the far western side. And then the missing middle actually grew substantially. So not a wholesale change to the master plan, but more or less some just fine tuning and tweaking that's happened. And then site work ongoing. We're doing hazardous material sampling, abatement of that, and then that will lead to the demolition. The demolition bid packages are currently being created. So that takes us through everything. I don't know, anything to add, Mark?
Yeah, so we're excited about this because we feel like this can really put, you know, Glenwood and Mills County on the map for the metropolitan area as a location to move your family and to live. And so it's going to be something we think unique, going to be attractive. We know this is not a short-term project, right? This is 15, 20 years, maybe more, but it could create something really special. In our market is not really people that live in Glenwood or live in Mills County right now. Our market is really Omaha, Potawatomi County, Sarpy County, somebody looking for an alternative in a place to live, right? And so that's really where we're saying is how can we attract these people in here? And I mean, there could be potentially, you know, between 700 and 900 units that are built on there. And again, with a mix of typology. So we're excited. So yeah, that's it. Any questions, Bruce?
Any plans for affordable housing development?
Yeah, Arch Icon, I mean, that's one of their specialties. So they're looking at how do we create that? You know, obviously the easy is the existing buildings. So using, you know, some of the tax credit opportunities, they definitely think, you know, they introduced that we need to look at some micro housing opportunities. So we definitely want to have all different ranges within it. Yeah.
Is this development going to drive any infrastructure upgrades for Glenwood? Like, are they capable of supporting the development with what they have?
Early phases, they are. They have some challenges with both water and wastewater and upgrading the plants. So they're looking at that. Same thing with the mega site. They know if the mega site happens, they'll have to do that. So we're working, you know, hand in hand with them, trying to figure out what those trigger points are where they would have to make those upgrades. Yeah, great question.
I guess that was my question too, kind of piggybacking on what you're saying in terms of city services. There's a significant impact on that.
Very much so. It's already been annexed. The discussion is, when would they come in and take over the streets and that sort of thing? We want to start creating some tax revenue, so that makes that a lot easier to do. Same thing with schools. Going to a community school district, originally wanted a school up there, and we thought, wow, that's really great. I mean, how often do you start a neighborhood with a school already in place? But just due to some time constraints, they had to look elsewhere for that. But we do have their administrative offices and early childhood development on the site. So some definite pluses.
And so we're in the process right now of starting the environmental remediation. So obviously with, the buildings constructed in that time frame, there's asbestos in there and various things that we've got to take care of. So that'll probably start happening in May. Once, that remediation is done, we'll start some demolition. So it's probably a 12-month process for us to get all the environmental and the demolition done. So we probably won't see any new construction or renovation of existing buildings probably till, mid 2027 or beyond. So it's a complicated project, but it's better than knocking everything down and just having an empty space.
And Mark said he'll stay late afterwards and take names if you're interested in any of the residential sites.
Yeah, we're taking residential.
Okay.
Does the SHPO work with a THPO?
SHPO work with
Tribal.
Organization.
You mentioned earthen lodges are on the site.
Yes. Yeah, no, in fact, that's how kind of that resolution, I mean, early on, there was a lot of different direction. And the map that you saw, that was created in consultation with both. And it was interesting because the early discussion was, and I think even from SHPO was, what are the impacts if we do find, I wish I would have brought another one of the maps. I mean, it's interesting because a lot of the sites that have been identified were screwed up by the state. I mean, they're surface parking lots and everything else. So kind of the big picture was that we have to have observation in areas where something, could be found. And if something is found during construction, all work stops. They immediately call the tribes. And, it used to be that the tribes would want to keep those, what's found in place. And the direction that we received from those conversations was that most likely they will collect whatever is found and then take them to a place of their choosing so that the tribe actually controls that. So there's a lot of coordination to make that happen the right way.
Go ahead. No, I was saying, good question. Thanks. Go ahead, Glenn.
I think it's just interesting. I mean, Highway 34 being the genesis for the discovery of the Mills County archaeological site and all of that. I mean, there's just like the circularity to all of this. And I mean, it's interesting with even just the access roads, but I'm particularly excited about the trails piece of this and just access more to that site, because I think people just don't know even the history of what was discovered in Mills County. And I mean, just the legacy of, the state's investment in the project, and kind of hit, you don't know to go out of your way to go see it, and just providing more visibility on just the legacy of, the Nishnabotna corridor, the folks who lived here long before it was homesteaded.
Yeah, no, you're right, Mike. If you come in Highway 34, right after you pass under the railroad bridge, there's a trailhead there.
Yep.
And if you haven't been there, it's an amazing trail. It's a paved trail and it's absolutely beautiful. And then there's cutoffs that are mown. And we think Potawatomi County is really excited about this opportunity because it will help people, because it's not used, it's underutilized. And then the fact that you can start doing these different loops and things should really help activate that and expose people to kind of an environment that, a lot of people don't get to partake in on any given days.
Briefly, I missed it. Is this within the city limits of the county or both, or?
It's within the city limits. Yeah.
So if somehow miraculously you can get those tunnels modified, is there a way that you can really kind of integrate this more into Glenwood, and really kind of build that synergy? Maybe some of the good that comes out of this starts to work its way more towards Glenwood proper. You guys started having that foresight, what's the possibilities?
Yes, no, I mean, that was front and center in all the upfront planning. I mean, the site was really designed to create separation. I mean, that rail line is a barrier. I mean, you know, if you work there, I mean, as Mark said, a lot of people in Glenwood work there, so they had access. But if you didn't, you really didn't go there. So we have, I mean, some of those, that image that you saw was, you know, first of all, if we talked with the railroad, we got costs. I mean, it's really expensive to redo those. That's a main line. So the cost was very steep. So then it was like, okay, can we make some minor modifications, clean those up, make them look presentable? And that's why really quickly we're like, we've got to get somehow access from here. But can we make that nicer? I mean, we were showing a streetscape project that ties in with downtown to really help pull people into that, because, you know, again, if you live here, you're going to want to walk these trails and everything else. So really just try to make it as seamless as possible.
You know, to one extent, you can sell it as exclusivity because there's that boundary. The other part, you can sell it as really kind of merging of these two developments. And I agree that streetscape that you could kind of integrate between those two would be helpful. Maybe a little boulevard that brings you all the way in. But yeah, I appreciate the vision. I appreciate you guys being bold about it. You know, that's what planning's about.
Yeah.
Thinking bold.
Well, and it was tough because again, I think the state thought, okay, we're losing 400 jobs. We've got to create 400 jobs.
Yeah.
And it was really difficult to come out and say, this is not a job site. I mean, we took some darts for that. And I think the more people thought about that and realized, and that's why I showed all those images. I mean, the images are pretty compelling of why it's not a job site. But, you know, again, it's one of those unique places that could be its own thing within the whole regional marketplace. So that's what, yeah, said drove things.
But I think still gonna be a little controversial. You know, we're not saving every historic building on site. And there's a lot of emotional attachment because of the people that worked up there and the residents. And so we're gonna get some criticism when we start to knock some stuff down. And so, you know, have to have a little bit of a thick skin and just, again, try to push forward to talking about the positives that will develop there. But, so it's gonna be interesting when we start knocking stuff down.
With the architectural survey, there are 9 buildings that were identified that could be listed individually. We're keeping 8 of those. So we think we're doing it, but as Mark said, there's ties to each and every one of those buildings. And the thought is, yeah, we can keep it, but how do you cash flow it? I mean, some of these, you know, what do you do with it? So it is trying to create an amenity package that outweighs any perceived negativity of any of the demolitions.
The state has given us, you know, a fairly sizable chunk of money to help us get the site development ready, but that's not gonna get anything built. And so that's where we're working with ArchIcon to develop that pro forma of, all right, where are our funding sources? Where can we, you know, start, get some momentum, get things moving and get some tax base? Because if we don't get that tax base, we're not gonna be able to do the other things to help develop the site and moving forward. So
Yeah, you guys have a lot of roads to build. Unfortunately, you can't get to any development topography out there. You know,
Yeah.
it makes it that much more expensive. So it's a little bit of a challenge you're gonna have to try and get over.
Yeah, just get Iowa DOT plowing for you.
Beggars can't be choosers. We were blown away by how quickly they moved on those 2 entrances. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, it was like, what, a year and a half from concept to construction?
Yeah, they'll be done by August this year.
Yeah.
I know we've taken probably too much time, so thank you.
Thank you. I think there's one last question over in this region, I thought, okay.
We'll stay around. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, that was awesome. It seems like a no-brainer, and thanks for unpacking that for us. Some really good examples and anecdotes and things that we sort of know about what tends to happen, and maybe some lessons learned we'd love to stay abreast of as the project moves forward. You know, I was going to ask about the NIMBYism and the YIMBYism as you described. Me and Greg are reading Escaping the Housing Trap, and so it's illuminating interesting aspects of that, how you anticipated and refuted and also rallied the folks who are about this kind of advancement in the community. So that's a great example. Okay, Lindsay is not court. So Lindsay's going to talk about
So
grant funding.
corporate based morning, so I'm gonna fill in, I'll do my best. So I'm giving y'all a quick update on the Heartland 2050 mini grant program. So I believe we came to y'all back in February to kind of talk about how that process works. So quick reminder, the Heartland 2050 mini grant program is a set aside of MAPA's regional apportionment of STPG funds. So STPG is our Service Transportation Block Grant. The projects that are funded through this program serve to kind of move the Heartland 2050 vision forward in the future. There's a fantastic website there if you guys want to check that out. And so under this program, we have a committee comprised of 2 members of RPAC. So Chris and Bruce were kind enough to volunteer for that this year. And then 2 members of TTAC, who actually Christy is one of our TTAC sides for that. So this is kind of a quick rundown of the committee structure. So that project selection committee met a couple weeks ago on March 17th. They reviewed all of the projects that were submitted for funding requests. You can see them in that table there. The total funding amount requested was about $1,256,000 worth of projects. The committee, upon review, did recommend funding for all of those projects over about a 4-year schedule. So historically with the mini grants, we haven't had a request this large. So when we fund them, we've been able to just fund them all in the immediate next year. That was not the case this time. 1.2 mil is a little bit more than we're used to seeing in this program. So the committee discussed and kind of spread those out between 26 and 29 to kind of make best use of that sub-allocation of funding. It is still a bit more than we have historically requested of this set aside, so it is going to have to go through TTAC and through the board for final approval. But this is the recommendation that was made by that project selection committee. You can see here, we've also got the scores based on the criteria that are in the program guidebook. They all scored pretty well. Honestly, this is my one here. This is our regional household travel survey, which is a little bit high, but they actually suggested that the score on that be higher than it was from the MAPA scoring due to the regional significance of that project. So if we go to the next slide here, we're bringing this back to RPAC today because we are requesting a formal motion from this group to kind of recommend this recommendation to the board. So as you saw in that committee structure, the Heartland 2050 selection committee is made up of RPAC and TTAC. So we're going to take this both through RPAC and TTAC, and then it's going to be brought up to the MAPA board for final approval. So Keith, that's kind of what we're bringing it to you guys to request for today. I can entertain any questions, comments before we take that up.
I'll just say beyond that,
Yeah.
all great projects, you know, it was a lot of tough deliberation. You know, what you guys want to do is definitely advocated for the Pavilion Trail, like that. And rightfully so.
For my caveat, though, it's got to connect
Correct.
all the way down
You know.
84th Street.
But you know, for me personally, I know that e-moto policy, you know, that's gonna become metro-wide, like those scooters and everything, it's metro-wide. I just think it would make a lot of sense if we have a metro-wide policy that addresses, you know, how those will be handled in each community. But overall, great projects. Appreciate being part of the review and discussion. And I'll recommend approval before we get to that point.
And I will say one quick thing too, usually when we funded these mini grants in the past, we kind of started work on them at the start of the next fiscal year, once that gets through our funding approval process, which would be fiscal 27. You'll notice there are a couple projects here that are slated hypothetically for 26. One of those is particularly with regard to that e-moto policy work, because we're having a big need in our region to get that kind of put together in a regional collaborative effort. So we're trying to push that through as quickly as possible. So if we are able to move this through board in April, we're kind of exploring ways to get that going a little sooner than what otherwise would have been probably about October this year.
I just have a question, not necessarily on the projects, but on the process itself.
Absolutely.
Because isn't this normally a annual
It is.
grant? So is this a process whereby you can apply for funding for several years, or, you know, in the, not necessarily the following year, but 2 years? Because I think it's important for people to know, like, if they had a project and thought, okay, I'll just apply next year, but now it's gonna be a couple of years. So is this a new process moving forward?
We're gonna have to reevaluate that. So historically, it has been an annual project selection process, and then the projects that are selected we start work on them next fiscal. It's just kind of on that annual cycle. Because the requests were so high this year, we kind of need to evaluate that process. We haven't historically programmed out under this program into future years, so that's a new thing that Maps Staff's kind of gonna have to evaluate and figure out how we want to move forward with this program. So. And it might mean that we don't open a call in the immediate next year just because of funding availability, but again, we're gonna be reevaluating that.
And echo what Chris said, as we evaluate them, they're all good projects, worthy of it, but then again, to hit a budget, they have to be kind of programmed out.
Any other questions?
Other questions, concerns? Thank you for this, Lindsay. I think I heard a motion to approve if there aren't any other questions. We still have four in here. Who left? Okay,
No, I think we're good.
okay,
It's great.
just great.
And he's back, so.
Great, is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. Let's vote. All in favor of the recommendations before you here for the mini grants to be funded at 1.256? All in favor? Aye. Any opposition, any abstentions or opposition? Seeing none?
Thank you guys very much. So like I mentioned, this is gonna go through T-Tech and also through the map board to lead the word the final, but I appreciate you guys.
Great. Thank you. We are moving right along, Carlos.
Hey, just a little update, next slide. We're
Yep, I don't know if it is.
so if you haven't been barraged like I have or Mike has, the NOFO, the Notice of Funding Opportunity for Safe Streets for All, maybe possibly the last round under this federal transportation bill, just opened up last week. Super excited. Again, it follows some of the same SS4A, Safe Streets for All criteria, looking for supplemental planning and demonstration and implementation. There's about 1 billion available nationwide, 25 million ceiling, 100,000 floor for some of these applications, likely limited to one lead applicant per region or area on certain projects. Again, applications due May 26th. One of the things that we're seeing from the federal side in grants is there is a quicker turnaround on a lot of these. We're getting notified and the application due date is narrowing and narrowing. Therefore requiring a lot of additional work upfront to get this through. As a reminder, anyone in the green zone is eligible to seek additional funding through this program by yourself, since you've been covered by our comprehensive safety action plan. So cool. Yes.
I would caveat that quickly that you are within the geography of the plan, but if your jurisdiction hasn't yet signed an MOU to formally adopt it, you would need to do that first before being eligible for.
So come talk to us. We'll slide through some of these, some availability for additional action plans, looking at speed management, vulnerable road users, transition plans, emergency responder safety, et cetera, road safety audits. That's one of the key corridors where you're looking at a corridor and trying to analyze and figure out what are some of the best and inputs to improve safety along the corridor. Some recent examples can be found from City of Omaha and their implementation of mid-block crossing, their roundabout modulars, and really demonstrating the feasibility of quick build, getting out there, trying to make effective changes to safety now when the problems are going on. Additional engineering studies for signage, et cetera. Behavioral and operational pilot programs. This is something of an interest within us. Last year's SS4A applications received about 24 or about 50 million in something that is looked at under post-crash care. And this is thinking about the whole blood or pre-hospital blood.
We've gotten interest from local volunteer fire departments throughout the region, something that we're looking at pursuing further. If you don't know about whole blood, basically, when a trauma happens, EMS, fire departments show up. People are alive at the scene, but by the time they get to the hospital, the oxygenated blood is so low that it becomes a mortality. And so that's a preventable death with programs like this. So timeline wise, quick and dirty, we're trying to reach this May timeline. If you have questions, comments, my staff is available to talk, help. If you need additional support letters, etc., come talk to us. We're happy to support other great regional safety projects throughout the region. And that is it for me.
And that's why we did the CSAP, is to kind of unlock this future funding. But can I ask about RPA and what they're, or the Iowa side, because we've got a safe stream on that side also.
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit. So we finished our MAPA-wide, our region-wide safety plan last year. So that includes the Douglas County, Sarpy County, and the urbanized area pot that Carlos had on his map there. We kind of parallel path that with an effort in more rural Iowa. So RPA 18 is a region that we also help administer on the Iowa side. That includes Mills County, Shelby County, Harrison, and Potawatomi County. So Iowa did their own safety plan that included 97 of the 99 counties within the state. And each of those counties got their own safety action plan that works the same way as ours does. However, those plans did not include some of these larger rural towns. They mostly included farm market roads, county roads, things like that. So because they were carved out, places like Glenwood, Harlan do not currently have a safety plan. So we sent in another application, we got some funding to do those, and that project, we're actually just wrapping that up now. So we have a draft plan that's ready to go out next week. That'll cover 7 communities in Southwest Iowa. We're working in partnership with RPA 13, which is kind of nearby our boundaries there, to cover 7 of those communities. And then they will also be able to move forward with applying for future funding opportunities for a lot of these safety projects.
But that's a great question, Laura, because we've heard from Potawatomi County, some of the things in that 97 county plan they want to move forward with on their own application. So, again, that the one application per applicant piece, just want to be thoughtful about where that might make the most sense as multi-jurisdictional, where that makes sense as like one community, and our team's got a good ear to the ground on who's applying, so just make sure to check in with them if you're going to pursue the funding.
Okay. Great. So one application per applicant, Mike?
Yes, so like MAPA could have one application, City of Omaha could have one application, Potawatomi County could have one application. So just making sure, who's the lead applicant on different things, just a little bit of coordination up front, just to make sure we put our best foot forward.
Right on. Great.
And Carlos, we should carve that deck out and send that out, because it's got a lot of information in them about what's in the NOFO, but maybe not directly apparent.
Come talk to us. We're open and available. Just send me an email and we'll start the conversation.
Great. Well, thank you for that, Carlos. Moving on to committee updates. I know Ashley had to hop off for equity and engagement.
I think so briefly mention something. I think we're just getting ready right now when it comes to the housing and development and engagement group. We're gonna be touring the housing stability clinic that is led and run by Together. One of the biggest comments from our group wanted to know more about what resources are there for the families. I know there is a housing affordability crisis at this point, but we need to make sure that we also know what is being done to help the families and individuals that need to find housing. And so at that opportunity, we're also going to bring in the City of Omaha Human Rights and Relations Department, and they're going to present on the Poverty Elimination Action Plan. We're going to get an update as to where they are at, and also when it comes to housing specific needs for the City of Omaha community. I think that's what I have for the housing and engagement group.
Thank you. Questions for some of the committee? Didn't y'all have an event?
we had just, I'm trying to remember what we had, recently, but, I know, we've been trying to go out and have different events with different groups, not only the housing and engagement, where the infrastructure went out and visited Cordia. Not know if that's the event you're referring to.
I think so. It looks like they're doing something fun. I might be making this up, so. That's okay. This committee is always doing something fun to engage and to learn together and pull folks out. So thank you for that. Okay, moving along, I don't see Britt here. Is there an update for infrastructure?
Well, I can also share about that. I know that Brittany sent me a text that she couldn't make it today. We just had our strategic visioning session on our last meeting, and we brought in committee members to tell us what else we need to work on. It was very encouraging to see all the success that the committee has had when it comes to attending and visiting different sites like the City of Omaha storm water plant, and we also visited or toured the Cordia energy plant. There were a lot of comments as to the importance of bringing youth into the infrastructure meetings. So we're gonna be working on moving forward with Chris Rowling is finding strategies or opportunities for us to engage with youth and bring them into the conversation, and perhaps continue the partnership with UNO and find a way to really engage with our new generation and have them be part of the infrastructure planning. For the upcoming meeting, which is gonna take place on June 3rd, Heather with Public Works, I think Heather Tippy with the Public Works Department, she's gonna come and present on the Keep Omaha Moving website. So a little bit more to learn more about community engagement of what the Public Works Department is doing at this point. That's gonna be part of the presentation for the upcoming meeting.
Thank you. Any questions for Paul? Again, pinch hitting for one of the committees. Okay, thank you for that. Next is Zach, the artist formerly known as Kent Home, on your district here. Please, natural resources.
Well, maybe he was gonna show up, I don't know. Natural Resource Committee, we're working on planning for our next meeting, which is April 21st, 2:30 here at MAPA. Working with the Nebraska Circular Food Systems Coalition to put together a presentation on food recovery and food preservation within the area. So that'll directly kind of coincide with our local foods subgroup within our committee, kind of learn who's doing what and try to make some connections moving forward.
Great. Questions for Zach and natural resources. So Saul and Zach, are any of the committees still recruiting for new participants, new members?
Always.
Okay. If you are not active with the committee and are considering it, please do so. Never too late to plug in. Everyone's perspective is needed from your respective jurisdictions and areas of subject matter expertise. Please plug into one of the committees. The committee chairs are always, or leads are always open to get you up to speed on what's happening. So.
And emerging leaders, younger staff, it's a great place for them to network and kind of learn and build their connections within the community as well. So it's easy to be on a committee and it's fun, I think. So
right.
One more plug.
Okay, no other issues related to the committees. Let's go to MAPA updates.
Sure, I'll be real brief because I do want to make space for some of the community. We're in the middle of our budget development. Previewed some of this back in February. We wrapped up our member survey in February. These are some of the things that we talk about. We've been kind of continuously refining this survey just to try to find a touch point really from that kind of, end of the year, early calendar year to get some input from our communities about ways that MAPA staff could be connecting with them over the next year, or if you want to go to the next slide, you know, and this year we got 23. That number doesn't sound very impressive, but it does tick up by like one person every year. So really appreciative of the continued support of this. And this is just one of the ways that we learn about some of the priorities that are going on, but it is something that, you know, takes 5 to 10 minutes. People can kind of give us their thoughts, kind of, you know, spill their brains on the piece of paper, just kind of like let us know, you know, what they're thinking about, what those kind of 1, 2 to 3 priorities look like. But we really got great representation. And I think, you know, you look across, you know, some of our communities and the characteristics, some of our smallest communities took the time to do this. So it's a really great way for us just to kind of get a preview on what they're thinking. You want to go to the next slide. So interestingly, you know, been doing this survey for ever since I've been here at MAPA. You know, we always ask about housing, but, you know, over the last 5 to 6 years, it's kind of ticked up the list as the issue that people want us to assist with. This year was number 1. And between that and trails, it was almost unanimous in terms of interest and support for MAPA having some role in shaping that. The requests were different. Some of it was helping get, you know, housing subdevelopment or subdivision off the ground in some communities to, you know, kind of continuing and building on some of the work that we're doing with like the market value analysis and the data and the coordination. Lots of different opinions in there, but it's really interesting just to see, I think, one, a lot of affirmation for places that we're trying to be more active and trying to find our value, but then also just really things that we see across jurisdictions, both states, rural and large communities. You saw it in the list of Heartland 2050 mini grants that Lindsay presented. A lot of interest in active mobility, transportation, trails, all of those things. Infrastructure funding, another big priority, and really just a lot of affirmation that MAPA is a great place and a great resource to kind of continue bringing people together on some of these issues. We ask every year about kind of peer exchange and training opportunities. Really kind of, you know, if we're going to bring people together in spaces like this, or if we're going to kind of really dedicate time around training, what are those big issues? Put this chart together just to show that access to funding, kind of what Carlos and Lindsay were talking about there in terms of the mini grants, in terms of Safe Streets for All, these federal funding windows that are becoming much more narrow, earmark requests that are kind of difficult and Byzantine to navigate sometimes, really just trying to find that number, again, that really accessing funding and navigating these federal and state funding opportunities being the top of the list, but then really going down that list of economic development strategies, things that you've heard Grant talk about here in this meeting, kind of that way that we're really working in different ways to build capacity, whether it's efforts like the Port Authority or whether it's, you know, partnerships with folks at the chamber, looking at some of the market studies and other ways that we can really position ourselves more competitively. And then also just this capacity building. I think that's a thread through all of the work that we do, but really just that intentionality of really trying to make sure that we can build that capacity, whether it's within MAPA or whether it's within our members and partners, to go and compete for these funds. So again, we're in the middle of our budget. You know, this graphic is just kind of a vision of, you know, we have the strategic vision from our board that's really internally focused about how does MAPA organize itself? How do we show up? How do we have that commitment to our mission? And really, what is sort of that flywheel that we spin up internally so that we can better serve all of you? We do this member survey and outreach, whether it's the survey or conversations with each of you. And all of that we hope is reflected in the budget and the priorities that we bring to the board and in our work programs, both on the ComDev side of things and Grant's team or Carlos's team, and the transportation side of things. And so by June, you know, we'll have our budget. It all goes into effect in July 1, but it's really just kind of, in one way, we like to kind of think about that all of this stuff should be pointing us in the same direction, and we try to be good stewards of that and helping the board see how these little tactical things that we're talking about year to year add up to bigger changes over time. And I think one just great example that is Lindsay highlighted in the mini grant program. We used to have to beg to get $200,000 worth of requests for that program. And now to have all of those requests coming in on that program alone, all of the just planning requests that we funded last year, that was about $1.5 million that wasn't even through that program. Just a lot of ways that we're finding opportunities to add value to local priorities. I think the active mobility plans is a great example of that. We did a regional bike ped plan and we had some wins, we had some progress on that. But I think us being able to resource those plans at the local level, get that local agency buy-in and ensuring that we're at the table, shaping that to add up to those regional outcomes, has shown a lot of value. And so Omaha being the first, La Vista being the second, Bellevue being the third, and now Papillion applying, we're really piecing that together in a way that builds up to that really regional prioritization. So that's my bud. funding with. I think there's just a lot of demonstration of how this stuff adds up and gets us to the finish line. And so we've got these priorities in here. I want to hear from all of you if there's things that you guys want to talk about. But we'll share this deck. If you were at the Council of Officials, you already saw this. If you come back in June to the Council of Officials, you'll see it there. You'll get a preview of that in RPAC in June. But a lot of affirmation for things that you've already seen us talk about here today. Any questions?
Yeah. It's going through this question.
Yeah.
I'm pretty confused about the slides. There we go.
There we go. Yeah, sorry, there's a lot of stuff.
No,
in
that's
there.
okay.
Carlos, if you want to talk about the TPWP and UPWP, I know that.
So I'll be real brief on this. We have public comment periods. Every year we're required to do work plan for both our regions, the MPO, and our regional planning authority on RPA 18. We currently have open public comment periods from now until about April 20th and April 13th. Harrison, Shelby, Pot, and Mills represent RPA 18, and the MPO is in the green/blue. Next slide. As I said, this is one of the planning functions that we're required to do by federal government. First draft was due to state and federal partners April 1st, so earlier this month now, and that was already done. Next slide. Just take you through for a quick walkthrough on the UPWP or Unified Planning and Work Program for the MPO. We're looking at direct labor about almost $1 million. Contracts and subrecipients about 3.8 million for our budget, consisting of about 6.7 million in total. Within that revenue share, we have about 5.9 million in federal funding, comprised of about 2 and 3 million from new and carryover funding, with 1.5 million in matching sources. Next slide. If you were a TTAC, you heard a lot about this, but many of the priorities for the RPA is really developing these comprehensive plans and what's the implementation status of that. Doing more development and assistance with Pot County and others for trail development and transformational projects within the region, and working a lot with community members to pursue that federal funding available. Next slide. For the RPA, we're looking at a total budget of $70,000. So it's not a lot of money for the total area that we're covering and the amount of work that we're putting into this. So that is pretty much it. Any questions?
Yeah.
Trying to be free.
More information on the website. You want to go dig in, you can see our statement of work for the year. There's a lot of that.
And you can always talk to me.
Just real quick, just since we talk a lot about Heartland 2050 here at RPAC, our learning site visit to Detroit is next month, 11th through 14th. We're pretty great underway with programming and attendees, so we're excited about where we're going and expect to have a really successful trip. We'll take about 5 MAPA staff and 15 people from the community, so really excited about who's coming and what we're going to see. They have some major projects there that are happening. I don't know if you've heard about the International Bridge to Canada in the news lately, and they've got a bunch of new riverfront parks, and so we're going to see. We're really excited about that. And then also, you guys, I didn't know you would be here today, but Adia and Matt are both new staff. We're excited to have them here, so always want to promote that at the end.
And Grant previewed our internship program with UNO, but Adia, former MAPA intern from Creighton, and has come full circle. And so the MAPA intern pipeline.
So kind of first week and kind of not.
So welcome Adia and Matt. Okay, welcome.
Well,
We gave you 8 minutes.
Yeah, sorry, we tried.
That was excellent. I think we're doing good. Let's move to community updates. So if you have things that you want to share for the good of the group, please outline those. Or if you have any lingering questions, or if there's anything you want to talk about after the meeting, you can do that too. So what's going on in your community?
I'll kick us off. So like I said earlier, starting our comprehensive plan process in our downtown master plan. That's going to be a 14-month process to go through, a lot of community engagement. I'm sure we're reaching out to MAPA staff there soon to get some data sources for you, but we're excited about it. You know, especially the downtown master plan. It's the first one we've done since 2003, and I'm really kind of curious to see what's going to come out of that. I think could be the crown jewel of Council Bluffs when it's all said and done. So The other thing I just wanted to bring to your attention is that East Manilow subdivision, we have our first 4 units actually coming out of the ground now, so very excited about that. That's a city initiative to bring more housing to our community. If we can build it out for our master plan, there's essentially 900 new units that'll be available for rent or for sale in Council Bluffs. So excited about both projects starting.
And congratulations to
Thank
Chris
you.
on his new position with the city of Council.
Very well deserved.
Appreciate it.
Barry's lead, man.
I was gonna do it if you didn't. so.
Thank you for that. What else? I'll while we're waiting, go ahead.
Okay, so May 8th is our the Empowerment Network's 19th annual Rebuilding the Village Conference, and it's gonna be held at the Hilton Omaha. We've got different cities that will be coming to Omaha. And as a matter of fact, they're Tulsa, Syracuse, New Orleans. We have actually partnered with them as well, and they have come on board to be an empowerment network, if you want to say satellite, or just a model for the empowerment network. And so they've seen the trends that we've been able to give through community collaboration. We work with law enforcement, we work with Chief Schmatter, we work with housing, education, you name it. But a lot of these cities have really a lot of challenges. And so they've seen how we've been able to make progress. And so they've come to Omaha, they've seen what we've been doing, they've gone back out, they've had their own community meetings. And so now they want to become an empowerment network, New Orleans, empowerment network, Syracuse. And so the conference itself is going to bring them here in addition to local attendees, just to learn about, how can we intentionally collaborate with each other, and how can we make our cities and our neighborhoods and communities thriving. And so we'll have different speakers, we'll talk about housing, we'll talk about mixed use housing, we'll talk about arts and cultural, entrepreneurship in historic districts and so on. So it's a conference, it's a luncheon, it's gonna be at Hilton Omaha on May 8th. And so you're all welcome to attend. Go to empoweromaha.com for more information. But again, an exciting time for us, because again, when you have other major cities that are coming in and looking at what we're doing here in Omaha, and then they want to emulate and to model what you're doing because they see the challenges, but they also see the opportunities as well. That's exciting for all of us.
Thank you. Again, for regular attendee, I highly recommend you attending and bringing your team. Bruce.
Update on 84th Street. We're actually ahead of schedule with our underpass and trail project along there, thanks to a mild winter. So hoping we don't have a brutal spring of rain. But hopefully it'll be wrapping up this fall. And then we also recently approved a mixed use development project on a 32-acre piece of ground, probably our last large piece of commercial ground out in the Southport area for some housing and then entertainment district type venues. After numerous years of projects that have fallen through or been turned down by the city, finally have kind of a compromise project. We'll be moving forwards.
Progress. That's good. Be careful. We get a lot of green thumbs in here, and farmers pray too. So rain is good. What else? Lauren.
If you haven't heard about it, there's a new initiative that's a multi-agency effort called Age Friendly Omaha. I'm happy to be a part of the steering committee. It's really working very closely with the city, with medical providers, with those involved in senior centers and housing, and trying to look at what it would make to make the region more age friendly, with the idea that if it's age friendly, it works for everybody. It's pretty much a volunteer effort, but very much focused on kind of making sure that we're looking at what makes our region suitable for everybody, especially as we hopefully get the opportunity to age. And so very happy to be supported by a number of partners throughout the community. Right now, there is a survey out and we're asking everybody 45 and up in the community to take the survey. So whatever you can do to help push that would be greatly appreciated. Age Friendly Omaha's website.
I'm eligible for the survey. How about that?
Go from being a young professional, to age friendly.
I wasn't expecting to say that age bracket, Lauren, but
So the idea being that it is, so we've received age friendly designation from AARP.
And it's a 5-year effort. And so really now it's the community stage gathering, and then we're gonna be going into some planning efforts, and then with the idea that implementation starts 5 years from now. So that's the reason for the earlier designation on the low end of the survey, is that by the time we're actually able to implement a lot of these projects, you and I will be more eligible.
Right on. Super important. Thank you for that, H, for everyone. What else?
Lots of things going on in Ralston right now besides the revitalization of our 5 Points intersection, which unless you've been down there, I promise it's more than just an intersection. We've got the new fountain, got a gazebo that is just about up now. The entire front lawn of City Hall is being completely redone. Besides that, Guitars and Cadillacs is now in Ralston, in the former Bushwhackers location at the Granary. They had their ribbon cutting a couple weeks ago, so come out and enjoy that. And then we have actually been in talks with Civil Brew. If you guys have not heard of that, it's a really awesome coffee place, drive-through coffee place, looking at potentially going into a lot on 72nd and Peachtree.
And with La Vista, the 2 newest Heartland bike shares.
Oh, yes, we now have a bike share station.
That's great. Forget all that. She said guitars and Cadillacs. Y'all know about guitars and Cadillacs in the late 90s in Lincoln, Nebraska? I'm kidding.
There's still statute of limitations. I mean,
you took me to a place. Y'all, I think there was one more.
Just real quick, April 17th, 2 p.m. The community groundbreaking for the second phase of the North Omaha Trail at 26th and Lake. So hopefully it's not a rainy
And
Friday
Rainy
afternoon.
Night to Unite is coming up on June 4th of my
June 30th.
Oh, okay, come on, Craig.
June 3rd and 4th, yeah.
And is there something with Midtown Transmission?
Yeah, I can hit on that. So we just recently had local leader meeting for Midtown Transmission Project. So this is generally going to be it's going to start at the Arboretum. It's going to be a rebuild component on existing lines, from that to generally the Exarban area, and then Exarban towards Saddle Creek and kind of the Blackstone type area. So public open houses are coming up here in 2 weeks. One of them is going to be at the the building we had, Catalyst. Catalyst, thank you, yes. Catalyst, and then at the UNO campus. Social media is gonna be posting things, letters are going back out to property owners and customers in that kind of Midtown area. So watch for dates and times and engagement opportunities for that.
And is there a Bellevue project as well?
There's also a Bellevue project. Yes, Bellevue project, also just yesterday was sending to local leaders engagement opportunities for local leader meetings and open houses that are coming.
Work doesn't stop, Chris.
It doesn't stop, yes. So that's generally Southeast Bellevue is kind of the route announcements that we're ready to start talking about at this time. And it's gonna go all the way up through Old Town through Offutt. So big reliability improvements and capacity improvements that help improve with that.
And I don't know if there's anybody online, if Terry or Ernie has something, but I will say MUD just had a meeting on the reservoir site as well, so that's my neighborhood. So moving forward with that, I haven't seen any updates. I don't know if Ernie has it either.
Christine?
I was just gonna say Omaha's new central library is supposed to open on April 19th, and they gave city employees like a sneak peek earlier this week. Beautiful. Great space for kids. There's a coffee shop, archives floor. It's amazing. So.
Truly. That's a great place to leave it. Why don't we adjourn, and thank you all. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for making quorum today. And good luck with your plants and your food and all the things.